Earlier this year, I made a video where I designed custom Evo mechs for every single ninja, and you guys seemed to really like it. I mentioned that if it got enough likes, maybe I would make a sequel, and you guys more than delivered. So, here I am. When planning out this video, there was a few decisions I had to make before even starting. For one, who would I even be designing mechs for? I already had all 6 ninjas, so who's next? I thought the obvious next step would be Sensei Wu. I'd actually considered including Wu in my original video, but I thought it would be best to save him for a sequel. The next logical character then, to me at least, was Garmadon. He's been around since the very start of the theme, and he would be a great counterpart to Wu. Additionally, the new purple Evo joints from the crystallized wave would work perfectly for him. After that, to stick with the ninja's allies, I thought Pixel would make sense. She's a permanent part of the ninja team. She's one who builds all their vehicles, so it makes sense that she'd make one for herself too. But then I wanted to make one more mech to make it a total of 4, just like in my original video, and I wasn't sure exactly who to go with. I ended up deciding on Skyler. She's a pretty common ally for the ninja, and she's featured in Crystallized, so I thought it'd be fun to give her a shot. So now that I have my characters picked, it's time to start planning. I liked the limited parts challenge in the original video, but I also want to open it up so I have more options available. So I requested a few more sets from the LEGO Ambassador Network that I thought would have useful parts for this project, and I also allowed myself to use leftover pieces from my previous building challenge videos. Additionally, I would pull parts from my full collection if absolutely necessary, but I did want to avoid that if possible. With those constraints in mind, with Wu I thought the colors would be easy. I've used the Evo joints of the Monkey King mech, the yellow fits Wu decently well, and the white armor and cockpit from Zane's mech on top. I also wanted to include a bit of gold to make it more distinctly Wu's. In terms of unique features, I actually took inspiration from some of the entries to my contest in the last video. There was a few Wu mechs, and I really liked the giant straw hat and the giant staff included on those, so I wanted to do something similar with mine. With Garmadon, I obviously needed to use the purple Evo joints and the gunmetal gray cockpit piece, but other than that, I wasn't exactly sure where to go with it all. There was lots of gunmetal and black and purple pieces left over from my Crystal King Temple video, so I do want to use them all in some way, but for now I think I'm just going to wait until I get building and just see what comes to me. Then with Pixel, I am quite worried about her color scheme, because she has a lot of colors going on and none of them match Evo joints. I think I'll go with the Zane Blue for the actual joints because it is the closest currently available. Additionally, I'll use either a red or a white cockpit, and then maybe red or white armor pieces on her as well. In terms of unique features, maybe some sort of cannon like she has on her Samurai X mech. I'm not sure, again, we'll just have to see what happens. And then finally Skyler. While her exact color, bright orange, isn't used all too commonly, I think I can use a combination of normal orange and yellow, and it would still fit her pretty well. Additionally, I could use the red cockpit piece and maybe red armor, as she does use red as a secondary color fairly often. In terms of unique weapon, I have absolutely no idea. I want to make something uniquely her, but I have no clue what that'll be. So once again, we'll see where it goes when I build. So with those plans in mind and a bunch of parts at my disposal, it's time to start building. And after a few days of work, well, let me show you what I ended up with. Before we get to that though, did you know that only 5% of my audience who watched that Evo mech video is actually subscribed? That's right, nearly 500,000 people watched that video, but only 5% of them were subscribed to this channel. So if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more like them, make sure to press that like button and press the subscribe button. It's free and it does so much to help support me in the channel. But now let me show you what you've been waiting for, my custom Evo mechs. So here's a look at my custom Evo mechs combined with the other Evo mechs that I've made, both the official ones and my custom ones from the previous video. It is so cool to have so many of these now. I already thought it was cool having mechs for all the original 6 ninja, but now adding these new characters in, I think they look fantastic together. But you've already seen most of these, so I won't spend too long on this shot. You can see them all together again at the end of this video. But let's get into each of my new ones individually. So here's the first of my new custom Evo mechs that we're going to take a look at. This is my custom Sensei Wu Evo mech. But yeah, I absolutely loved how this one turned out. Now something I decided to do with this guy that I hadn't originally planned is I wanted him to kind of be a counterpart to the Garmadon mech, where they're similar in a lot of aspects but also different in a few. One thing I thought that would be kind of cool is to give Wu a more rounded, like angelic look, while Garmadon has like sharper edges to represent that evil. So my absolute favorite part of this mech is the shoulder pads. I don't think this would technically be considered a legal building technique, because I did sort of have to force this piece down to get it connected like this, but now that it is connected, I don't believe there's any unnecessary stress on any of the parts. So I don't think the connection is illegal like this, but getting the piece on the way I did would not be to LEGO standards. But I thought these shoulder blade pieces looked really cool. I love how the white comes up through the center of them, and I was able to do that on both sides. I might be getting a little ahead of myself though. First we'll start at the feet, which are very basic. It's probably one of the most simple foot designs I've done in this entire series. Somewhat similar to the way they're done on the original Zane mech, though with more gold used and obviously none of the blue. They maybe could be extended out back a little bit, because they do feel a little short back here, but honestly I think it works well enough. I'm pretty happy with it. Then coming up to the legs, I went for a more armored design similar to my Lloyd mech from my original video. However, this time around I went with the the white armor pieces from the Zane mech, with gold pieces attached on top for detailing. I think this looks really cool and helps differentiate it from the Zane mech, as well as differentiate it from the Lloyd mech, while also really still fitting Sensei Wu's vibe. Those are of course identical on both sides. The actual cockpit area is very similar, if not completely identical to the Zane mech, which I know is not the most creative idea, but it just works for Sensei Wu, and I couldn't think of anything that would work better, so I thought it would be best to just include it the same. I think the only difference is the gray tile on the back instead of the brown one. The arms I already showed you the shoulder pads, but we have this angled white piece right here to create a nice like transition of the white cloth from the top of the arm to the side of the arm. And then at the very end you have the mini ball joint with the hand that normally holds a sword. However, in this case I replaced it with Sensei Wu's staff because I feel like that fits in better than a katana. Then on the other arm I used an Exonite shield piece here, and for his unique weapon I did indeed give him a giant staff. That I think is really fun. If we ever do get an official Sensei Wu mech, I think that definitely has to be included on it, because I mean, come on, how could you not include something like this? That's a ton of fun. Yeah, moving this guy around for this review, I'm noticing he probably needs more foot back here so he doesn't fall over as easily. Then both Garmadon and Wu have something that none of my other Evo mechs have, or none of the other official mechs have. And that is, in place of the banner, I decided to give them a sort of hat attachment. For Wu's, I literally just stole it from the golden mech. And while creatively, maybe that's a little bit lazy, I don't know, I think it works. It's a giant golden and white straw hat, which matches the hat that Sensei Wu wears. Something kinda cool is you can angle it down to cover up who's in the mech, and that gives me like classic samurai vibes, and then you flip the hat up to reveal, uh-oh, it's Sensei Wu in there. But if you want a more traditional Evo mech, you can also just remove this, and there you go, it looks pretty good like that too. So yeah, this is probably my favorite or second favorite of the mechs I created for this video, and one of my favorite mechs I made overall. And while it is maybe on the simpler side, like there's nothing too crazy going on here, I'm really happy with it. I think it looks good. And again, shout out to the entrants in my contest who helped inspire this mech. Lots of fun ideas. Next we come to Garmadon, which as I said is meant to be a counterpart to Wu, so you may notice a few things that are intentionally opposite. For one, he doesn't have as much leg armor, it's all very thin. Because the idea with this mech was that even though it is a mech, I didn't want it to look all too mechanical, I wanted it to look more organic. So I didn't put armor around the sides of the legs. And the little bits of armor that he does have are very spiky, and those really contrast with the very rounded design on Wu's mech. Additionally, the feet are round and flat, unlike the longer, thinner feet on Wu. Very bare bones design on the legs. You can see I actually have a clip piece here, which I was intending to maybe attach like a sword piece to, but I never really got around to. I don't know, I couldn't figure out something to add there, but I still thought it'd be fun to include there. Maybe you could store extra weapons, or if you want to upgrade it and customize it more, you can. Cockpit, of course, ended up being gunmetal gray, and the only piece of gold in this entire build is the ninja symbol right here that they all have. But of course, you can open the cockpit up to access Garmadon inside, take him out, and you can see that's how he connects in. Again, not much armor going on. Like, the cockpit doesn't even connect all the way to the back. The idea was to be very bare bones, and I think I accomplished that while also still making sure it looks good. There's the arm up a little bit closer. I love the big spiky armor. I think that turned out great. And then a little more gunmetal gray to transition down to the hand. He's just got a katana hand like every other mech has, and I thought a silver katana would probably be best for him. And then on the other arm, you have a very similar spiked piece of armor, but instead of a unique weapon, I just decided to give Garmadon a giant claw. Because in the show, Garmadon is very much about his physical strength, like his powers come from the fight, so I thought it wouldn't make sense to give him some sort of elaborate mechanical weapon. I thought rather it makes sense to give him this giant claw that he could slash with or pick people up with. And you can see that, yeah, there is actually room in the claw to hold a minifigure if you want. I gave it 3 individually posable fingers as well as a thumb at the back, and while this has been done on mechs before, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with how I did it. Now, Garmadon's mech was actually the mech I designed first, and this is what gave me the idea for the hat on Wu's mech, because I don't know, I designed this without the helmet and I thought, this is cool, but can I do more? So I decided to add the samurai helmet on top as an optional option. Now, you guys have to give me feedback on this. Do you like this? Do you not? Because I know it's definitely not perfect. However, I think there is a lot of cool things here. For one, I love the bat wings that I used, and then like this upside down like car wheel piece. I think that creates a really cool samurai helmet, but then the bottom bits I don't think work as well. It's meant to be open and flat so you can fit Garmadon's head in front of it, but yeah, something about it does definitely feel a little bit off. On a small thing around the back too, I added 2 bat wings. You can see those pop up a little bit from the front. I don't know, just add a little bit more uniqueness to the build. But yeah, there's how Garmadon looks in the mech, like with the entire helmet, but taking the helmet off to make it more of a traditional Evo mech, there's how that looks. And you can see the entire reason I designed that helmet is because something about this felt a little bit off to me. Like, it has all the aspects of the Evo mech, but Garmadon just seems too small in there. So I felt like the helmet was necessary to spice things up. But I don't know, you guys have to let me know in the comments, do you prefer this with the helmet or without the helmet? And do you have any suggestions on how I can improve the helmet to make it look a little better? But yeah, the helmet was always meant to be an extra optional touch, so whether you like it or not, I'm pretty happy with how this mech turned out. And then another thing with the helmet is I think it goes really well with Wu's hat, so that way these two are the only of my Evo mechs to have something above their heads, and for both of them, it's completely removable if you want. Balance on this guy is much better than Wu too, because he does have those flatter feet, so you can pose him just like any other Evo mech. So those are the 2 Evo mechs in this video that I'm very proud of. The next two I think are good, but maybe need some work. So actually, I want to know what you guys think of these in the comments, and how you think that they could be improved. Because maybe I'll make a follow-up video fixing them with your suggestions, because while I'm proud of how they turned out, I think there's a little bit of work that could be done, but I'm not sure exactly what that is. So all that being said, let's move on to the next one. So here we have the Pixel Mech, and I really like my ideas behind this one, but I feel like in the actual parts department, I came up short in a few places. My biggest frustration with this one, I think, is just all the colors on it, because Pixel herself does have a lot of colors. She uses dark blue, red, white, and gold, so I wanted to incorporate all of her colors here at least a little bit, but then the issue is that none of those colors come as Evo joints, so then I have to add a fifth color as well. Then if you add in the gray of the Evo joints, suddenly I feel like there's too much going on here. And while I think the end result turned out alright, something about it still seems off to me. The feet, I feel like definitely could use some work. I was just kind of out of ideas of what to do with these to not make them exactly like the Zane Mech feet. I put these little bowl pieces at the back, which I thought were interesting. They could maybe look like thrusters, but yeah, I'm not sure about these. Could definitely use some suggestions. I used the white armor pieces from the Zane Mech that you also saw in the Wu Mech, and originally I wasn't a huge fan of how these looked, but I decided to add some tiling on them, and I think that really helped make them look better, because this gives the Pixel Mech a distinct look from the Zane Mech and the Wu Mech, and almost feels more her style, so I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. Then I just have a dark blue Nexonite shield piece above that. Cockpit area, of course, used the white cockpit from Zane's Mech. You can open it up, take Pixel out. Again, very similar to how it's done in the Zane Mech, with a few pieces different. And then with the arms, it was almost the opposite of what I wanted to do with Garmadon. I noticed how on the original Kai Mech there was like a little turret coming off one of the shoulders, and I didn't do that in any of my custom mechs in my last video, so I'm like, you know what, I should do that on one of these, but let's take it a step further. So I had two cannons. One is an actual spring-loaded shooter, and one is purely imaginary, and then she has another one on her hand, as well as the other hand to hold the sword. These sit on top of these red shoulder blade pieces, which I think work pretty well. Spring-loaded shooter is a spring-loaded shooter. I'm not going to shoot it out here. You guys know how those work. And then the purely imaginary turret, I think actually looks really good. Obviously better looking than the spring-loaded shooter, but it's not actually functional while that one is. I'm not a huge fan of how I did the hand here, because I feel like it's too similar to my custom Nia mech from my previous video, because she had that exact same water blaster thing. I do feel like it fits Pixel, but I don't know, I could use suggestions on how to maybe mix this up a bit. Because yeah, it feels too similar and also too basic. I want to do something more unique, more fun for Pixel. So again, if anybody has suggestions, let me know in the comments. And then with the colors, you can see I tried to keep the white to the bottom, the red to the top, and then it all sort of mixes to the center. And I think that was a nice way to go about it. But then with the blue joints that I had to use, because that's just the closest thing to one of Pixel's colors, I don't know, again, it feels like too much to me. So until we get white or dark blue or red joints released, I feel like this mech is just going to look a little off. But again, if you guys have suggestions on how I can improve that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think in terms of the actual shaping and posing of this, it turned out pretty good, and I'm overall fairly happy with it. I don't know, I go back and forth. Sometimes I look at it and go, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Other times I look at it and I'm like, that could be better. But you know what? I tried and I had fun, and this one was definitely a very challenging one, so regardless, it's one I'm happy to have in my collection. And then for my final Evo mech, this is one that seemed a lot cooler in my head. I actually thought this one would be pretty easy to make work, but once I built it up, I couldn't help but feel like something was missing. My main thing with this one is the colors. Obviously, this is a mech for Skyler, and Skyler's main colors are dark red and bright orange. And I thought, oh, I can use the yellow from the Monkey Kid mech, and the red from Kai's mech, throw in some normal orange in there and some bright orange pieces, and even though they're not exactly Skyler's colors, they'll still kind of fit, like what I did with Cole's mech in the original video. But now, having this all built up, I mean, it's okay, it fits her alright, but something about this seems off. It doesn't feel like a Skyler mech. Like, add some teal in here, and this is just a Monkey Kid mech. But unfortunately, I don't have that many pieces of bright orange, and I don't think all too many exist. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm not breaking the bank to make this video. Part of the challenge was to use pieces that I already have in my collection. So you can see I used a lot of bright orange with like the gold bar pieces all over it, but other than that, there's no bright orange except for Skyler herself. I also feel like the reds may be a bit too overbearing. I try to keep it minimal to be like an accent, so you can see it's only used on the chest, on the armor, and on the tips of the feet, as well as on the little cannon on the side. But even still, I feel like it's too much, because sometimes it feels like this is almost a Kai mech. But anyway, yeah, let me take you up a little bit closer and show you what I have. I've got a really wacky design going on for the feet. It does make them very stable, but I can't even tell you my thought process behind this. I just want to make them unique, make them look cool. And the bright orange pieces here, just because it was a bright orange piece I had and I wanted to incorporate it. With the legs, I like the idea of having them sort of like flare out at the bottom. I thought that would be kind of fun and unique. And then on the legs, I used the red armor pieces from Kai's mech, but I put the bright orange ingots on there to make them less red, as well as the yellow triangular pieces, just to give them a more unique shape, and again, make sure the actual red is not too overbearing. Then coming out of the cockpit, as I said, I used the red cockpit piece, which you can open up, and in here, this is my worst cockpit yet. I don't like how this looks. It's so flat on the sides, and the orange ingots are just thrown in there because they are orange ingots. ingots, but I feel like something so much better could be done. I just couldn't find parts that worked that I had with me. But yeah, I do not love this. This is easily my least favorite part of this mech. Coming to the arms, we do have some cool angles going on here. I do like all the orange pieces I used. I wish there was more here though. I don't like the stud showing. I wish I did a little bit more with that. But I do think it's kind of cool variation how the more armored pieces at the front rather than at the back. Makes it look different from some of the other mechs. I've got a yellow hand holding an orange sword, of course. And then the other arm, this is easily my favorite part of the mech. Again, it's something I don't think is done perfectly. I think I could do better, but conceptually I really like it, and I think it turned out alright. So this was actually Matthew's idea. I was talking to him and I'm like, I have no idea what to do for like a custom weapon for Skyler's mech. And he said, why don't you do some sort of bow? Because she had that in her original set appearance. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I tried to create a sort of crossbow-like design built into the arm. I used like this rubber pipe piece to sort of represent the string of the crossbow, which I think looks okay from some angles, and other angles it looks really bad. But when she's got her arm down like this, it definitely does look like she's carrying a bow. So I do think that's pretty cool. And then above that I have a single stud shooter, which you can push down to imagine her actually shooting the crossbow bolt out. So yeah, while I could maybe expand on this a little bit, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the concept, and I think it is one of the coolest, like, unique weapons I designed. There's a look at the entire mech from the back, and then to end things off, there's an action pose from the mech, just to show that it can be posed like all the other ones. So yeah, once again, like I've said many times in this video, let me know what you think of this one in the comments, because I think there's definitely improvements that could be made, but sometimes you do need an outside opinion, so I'm asking for yours. But sometimes you do need an outside opinion, and right now I'm asking for yours. As such, though, I am overall happy with what I came up with, and while this is easily my least favorite of all the mechs I've created, I do think there's a lot of positives to it, and while it may not fit Skyler perfectly, I think it is still clearly a Skyler mech. And you know what, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. And so, those are my custom Evo mechs for Wu, Garmadon, Pixel, and Skyler. As I'm sure I've said many times in this video, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on them in the comments below. Personally, I'm very proud of Wu and Garmadon, and I'm pretty happy with Pixel and Skyler too. I just know there's some places where they could be improved. But yeah, once again, this was a very fun building challenge and a very fun video to like work on and edit, and I would love to do it again in the future. So just like last time, I'm going to set a like goal for you guys, but this time it's going to be a little bit higher. If this video gets to 3,000 likes, I will make a custom Evo Mechs Part 3 video. Now you also have to let me know in the comments what characters you'd like to see get Evo Mechs in the future. Some ideas I have is I could do different villains from different years. I could do the 4 characters from Crystallized that got Evo Mechs. I could do different Elemental Masters, or I could do more allies and side characters. And also maybe updating the Pixel and Skyler mechs according to your suggestions. So yeah, 3,000 likes on this video and I will begin working on a Part 3, and let me know in the comments what you want that Part 3 to be. If you enjoyed this video, put a card in the top right corner to a playlist full of all my custom building challenge videos. There's quite a few and I'm proud of pretty much all of them. So if you like this video, I'll probably like those as well. But unlike last time, I don't have any giveaway or anything to announce. There will be more giveaways soon, don't worry, but just not in this video. So I think I'm gonna call it here. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO and Ninjago videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!